What's up, everybody? It's your favorite boy boss, Hunter Avalone here, back with another video. Today, I'm talking about something that's happened recently that has quite honestly boiled my blood. It makes me very angry, and this is in regards to the recent vote on the $15 minimum wage. Now, the $15 minimum wage thing is a controversial subject to say the least, and it's also very nuanced. Admittedly, and I have been very transparent about this since day one of my YouTube channel, I'm not great with math. I'm not great with economics. However, it does appear, based on the research I've done, that a $15 minimum wage would be beneficial overall. So first, I want to explain why a $15 minimum wage being introduced incrementally is a good thing, and then I want to talk about the recent vote regarding Kristen Sinema. Now, the Congressional Budget Office did say that raising the minimum wage to $15 will kill 1.4 million jobs. That sounds pretty bad. That sounds like it would have a pretty massive impact on the economy and on working Americans. Would raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour really kill 1.4 million jobs? No, it doesn't seem likely. This study that claimed that it would had no methodology given, and there are multiple other studies that are better and more transparent, showing really the complete opposite. A 2019 survey of 138 state-level minimum wage changes over 4 decades found wages and job numbers stayed mostly level. Another sweeping 2018 study from UC Berkeley found that raising the minimum wage is good for everyone and did not detect significant negative employment effects. This is a nuanced issue because I think that we can all agree, if you are working 40 hours a week, if you are putting 40 hours a week of your life into a job, you deserve to be making enough money that you're able to save a little bit of money each month for, I don't know, an emergency. There are already studies showing that the majority of Americans wouldn't be able to afford a $400 emergency right now. I also think that raising the minimum wage is important because we have to adjust for inflation. So since 2009, the current $7.25 per hour, the federal minimum wage, has lost about 9.6% of its purchasing power to inflation. The minimum wage is the lowest it's been in decades right now, adjusted for inflation. Conservatives will often say, oh, well, you're not supposed to be living on a minimum wage job. You're not supposed to be working there forever. I agree that minimum wage jobs should help to springboard people towards bigger and better opportunities, but how can you get there if you are just scraping by? If you can barely afford medical bills, your car insurance, and rent working 40 hours a week at a minimum wage job, how are you able to get ahead? How are you able to save up to buy a house? How are you able to pursue the American dream? Pew Research also explains that back in 2015, The Economist estimated that given how rich the US is and the pattern among other advanced economies in the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, one would expect America to pay a minimum wage around $12 an hour. And this is what I mean also about there being nuance here. There are some areas, like rural areas, where raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour could actually harm small businesses. So I think there should be some adjustments there. I think there might be some areas where the minimum wage might not need to be raised quite this high if that area had a lower cost of living. It's also important to remember that 29 states plus DC already have a higher minimum wage. So it's not like it's going to be this massive shock. And again, the minimum wage part of the COVID relief bill that was just voted on, this was talking about raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour over a period of 5 years. There's also an international review which found that for every 1% increase in wages, there's an associated 0.04% decrease in employment. Or as Dube puts it, quantitatively close to zero. Even David Newmark, an economist whose research is reliably favored by conservative politicians, recently estimated job loss 1/4 the size of CBOs. And again, there could be job loss here. Minimum wage is not some magic number that you can just raise arbitrarily. I've seen some people unironically say that we should just raise the minimum wage to $25. Why not? I think we can all agree that the minimum wage should overall be raised, But there are consequences to that. Job loss could be an issue, but it appears what the CBO study was claiming, that millions of jobs would be lost, that is really exaggerated, and we don't even know how they got those results because, again, no methodology was given whatsoever. A study from Princeton looked at minimum wage price pass-through at McDonald's restaurants that saw nearly 300 minimum wage increases over 5 years. So this is similar to what was being voted on recently, and found a 10% minimum wage increase led to a 1.4% increase in the price of a Big Mac, an unnoticeable increase. And a 2019 study found that after 2 years, grocery store prices were not affected by Seattle's minimum wage policy. And if I'm not mistaken, Seattle has a really high minimum wage. Yeah, Seattle has a minimum wage of almost $17. And as a final note, I also think that there's low minimum wage, and then there's also a lack of strong unions. You have this issue where workers don't really have a say with anything. They don't get a say in how much they're being paid whatsoever. And I know people will say, well, just go get a different job if you don't like that. Yeah, you can go get another job where it's the exact same pay with the exact same dynamic, where you once again have virtually zero voice. People tend to get really classist when you start to have a conversation about raising the minimum wage. They'll say things like, oh, well, they're just a burger flipper. All right, Karen, well, do you want to go flip burgers? Sorry that not everyone is able to go marry a rich husband and use his credit card so they can go shit on minimum wage workers. But now that we've established that raising the minimum wage, especially over a course of 5 years, is in fact a good thing, here comes Kristen Sinema, who apparently is a Democrat, but she's much more of a wild card Democrat because sometimes she just sides with the Republicans because she's pure evil. She decided to vote against the minimum wage plan in the worst way imaginable. On Friday, Senator Kristen Sinema joined Republicans and 7 other Democrats to vote against the $15 minimum wage increase amendment to President Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief bill. And just look at the snobbiness of this video as this woman walks in here to vote against lifting millions of Americans out of poverty. Let's take a look here. Keep in mind that right here is that swindling, disgusting man, Mitch McConnell. So she waltzes on in. Here she is right here. Look at this. She goes over, rubs his back. Look, she tries to signal. Oh, look at me. Look. All right, I'm going to vote about the minimum wage. Nah. Miss Sinema. Yep. She has a base salary of $174,000. This woman's making almost $200,000 on taxpayers. And she walks over here, does this cringy little thumbs down shtick, sucks up to Mitch McConnell, and marches off like a spoiled little brat. You can see this tweet from 2014, which clearly aged like cottage cheese in the middle of the Sahara Desert. A full-time minimum wage earner makes less than $16K a year. This one's a no-brainer. Tell Congress to raise the wage. Well, Kristen, now you're part of Congress, and you decided to just not take your own advice and raise the wage. I like irony, but not this time. Now, when I saw this, as annoying as it was, I did want to try and be charitable because, hey, maybe she had a good explanation. She said the Senate should hold an open debate and amendment process on raising the minimum wage. Democratic leadership is working to pass a rescue bill. It allows them to circumvent the filibuster rule that would otherwise prevent a bill from ever being brought to the floor for a final vote, given the current 50-50 party split in the Senate. That process, however, requires that the legislation have a significant effect on the budget. The filibuster would almost certainly prevent a standalone $15 minimum wage bill from passing, and Sinema does not support progressive attempts to abolish the rule. So basically what she's really saying is hold an open process on raising the minimum wage so that they can strike it down and I don't have to look like the bad guy. Because she doesn't support the measures that would ever make an open debate and amendment process possible. She's just a lying scumbag. I mean, let's be honest. This woman looks like the meme picture of a Karen. She just waltzed in here, denied millions of Americans a chance to actually pursue the American dream. I just want to know who bought her out because I want to speak to her manager right now. We talk a lot about how the middle class is shrinking and how the gap between the very wealthy and the very poor is widening. Why do you think that is? Because people are trapped in these minimum wage jobs. They can't save up. They're just scraping by. But I'm sorry, Kristen Sinema's probably too busy yelling at her neighbor for having their grass not cut to the proper length that the HOA requires. But guys, it gets even worse. A spokesperson for Senator Kristen Sinema has suggested that the lawmaker's gender was why she had been criticized for the thumbs down gesture she used when rejecting her party's provision to raise the minimum wage. Yeah, it has nothing to do with you being an elite asshole. It's probably just because you're a poor, fragile whammon. So Huffington Post reached out for a comment, okay? And this is what the spokesperson said. Commentary about a female senator's body language, clothing, or physical demeanor does not belong in a serious media outlet. First of all, you're the one bringing the female aspect into this to begin with. I mean, she's a senator, right? They're probably gonna report on how she is in Congress. Excuse me, but why is Madam Senator wearing a bikini and giving a middle finger? Commentary about a female senator's body language, clothing, or physical demeanor does not belong in a serious media outlet. What are you, Fox News, you sexist man pig? How much you want to bet that this woman never worked a minimum wage job in her life? I mean, even if you are against raising the minimum wage for whatever reason, I think we can all agree that the optics of this is just despicable. What kind of a coward acts like such a massive Karen and then cries sexism rather than taking responsibility for their own behavior on the congressional floor? Well, there you guys have it. The epic girl boss feminist crapping on America and then crying sexism when she gets called out. Wonderful. Please give this video a like, comment below, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all soon. Peace.